You're sitting in the OPD and an interesting case comes in. Here comes a male who comes to you and in a soft voice says, "Sir, I have a soft canker." You ask him, "Okay, a soft canker. Do you mean a cancroid?" "Yes, sir." You ask him about his sexuality and he says he's an heterosexual. Then you ask him, "Is the ulcer painful?" He says, "Yes." And as you touch it, it bleeds easily. And as you examine it, you see there is no inflammation around this surrounding skin. And you also examine the thighs around and you see the inguinal region. Then you see these enlarged inguinal lymph nodes called as bubo. They're enlarged and they're tender. Then you ask him, do you have any idea that you ask him about an intimate contact within the last 4 to 7 days? Then he says yes. As you check, there is no immunity for him and he has a bit of a hypersensitive reaction. Yes, this is a classical case of Haemophilus Ducreyi. Wait, but before getting into the conclusion, you decide, let me get some laboratory diagnosis done. You take the exudate and swab of it, and you take the lymph node aspirate of it, then you send it for examination. Then you see for some microscopy of the same, and once you get to see the microscopy, you see a coccobacilli. One side it's all round, on the other side it's all long. It's like this strong straight line on which there is a ball stuck. You see it's having a bipolar set of staining, and there is a characteristic appearance of fishes in a school. Oh my god, that's a pun way of saying school of fish or railroad track. You see that there are tracks. Then you want to get to know things a bit more better, so you send it for culture. And once you do for culture, you get to know that the growth happens only when there is a mandatorily factor X present, that is himin is present. Then you're like, now you're almost sure that this can be Haemophilus Ducreyi. Then you try to do a culture on the rabbit blood agar or a chocolate agar. And you could also think, or you also plan to do it on a chorioolontic membrane of the chick embryo. Then as you go ahead, you think of doing some biochemical reactions, with all your chemical knowledge. Then you realize, oh my god, no, Haemophilus Ducreyi. And you also realize, and also it comes out to be the fact that Haemophilus Ducreyi is biochemically inert. Then you decide, let me do some X disc growth just to see if this can be a presumptive diagnosis. That comes out to be positive. Then the slide agglutination test for Haemophilus Ducreyi seems to be positive. Then you do a multiplex PCR to confirm everything to the core. And yes, it is positive for 16S rRNA of Haemophilus Ducreyi. Then you decide this canker, soft canker, is caused by nobody else but the Haemophilus Ducreyi. He is the culprit. The classical case of Haemophilus Ducreyi comes to you with the fact that it's men who are more affected than the females. The ratio is somewhere like 3:1 to 25:1. That's pretty high. For every 25 males, you might see one female who might have the condition of a soft canker. Then you decide, the person is like, "Sir, now I've had it, now what do I have to do?" Then you're like, "I throw an azithro into your mouth. Open your mouth." Then you throw an azithro into his mouth of 1 gram, and that's a single dose. You give it to him, and then he's like, "Sure, now I'm all done." Alternatively, you plan to, in your brain, that you can give him ceftriaxone, a cephalosporin. Then it's also important that you tell him that you request him to bring him his partner also, so that they could treat him or her also. It's not a him, because I've already mentioned that he's a heterosexual person, so it has to be a her. So this heterosexual partner should also be treated so that this canker does not grow. And this was the story of a person who came to your OPD. One point that has to be added is that an HIV infection will increase the susceptibility for cancroid and vice versa. So cancroid is like cool, HIV can easily happen, and HIV is like cool, cancroid can easily happen.